Congratulations to the Las Vegas Raiders. Oh, I'm not muted. Lol. Let me mute all my streams I got open here. Life of a Hololive fan. But I gotta stream myself sometimes. Alright, I'll cut that off for the video. I go live and I just start yapping. Oh yeah, I'm not muted. Now did my title and my game save? Because Twitch likes to not save my titles. It did, okay. Alright, welcome back to another stream, video, whatever you're watching at the moment. This was an idea I had for April Fool's Day, full disclosure, and it is 10 o'clock p.m. as I record on April Fool's Day. It took me a lot longer to set this up. Over the past 3 days I've worked on it, including a draft class, as well as getting the file share to work, as well as getting all the picks to the correct teams. So we're going to do a one-round NFL mock draft in NBA 2K26. And it was still easier than doing it in Madden, because Madden is terrible. So, yes, every NFL team is here. We're currently on the Niners, but every NFL team, you can see at the top right, will be represented in this mock draft. It's only going to be one round. However, I did create roughly 60, I believe 60 on the dot prospects. And actually, before we get started in the league, let me go show the draft class. And in case anybody finds this, watches it and says, hey, I kind of want to play around with this draft class, I might as well upload it. So we'll do that as well. NFL mock draft. Here we go. Here it is. The NFL mock draft in 2K. I tried to make a realistic Madden-esque rating, but obviously the individual ratings mean nothing, as this is basketball. I also tweaked faces for quite a while today, and every player's height, weight, age should be close with most players. It may change between now and the draft. There might be a few I'm wrong on by a year or so. So forgive me of my horrible deeds. But yeah, I made 60 players and try to get the likenesses, likenesses, what did I say? Likenesses is as close as possible. Obviously limited, but I thought it was better than just using a random actual NBA player. So names, position, well, not positions, but names, numbers, height, weight, age, college numbers are correctly represented to the best of my ability. And then, of course, there's like 150 players in the draft class, so the other 90 players in the draft class are nobodies, and I made all of them 30 years old. So if it wasn't easy enough to tell, you can tell even easier. The thing I found maybe the hardest and the most challenging, other than setting up the league itself, was hairstyles. Can we get maybe a little, now there's a much higher amount of hairstyles, and the customization is miles better than Madden. I will say that. However, as we get a look at Jacob Rodriguez's humorous mustache, can we get like maybe an upgrade with the hairstyles and even like the player models themselves? Like, I know this is an auto guy here, but Jimmy McGuire's got a, and the teeth, they've added teeth options that look odd. I don't know what we're doing anymore, but whatever. It is what it is. I tried to make them look at least better than the default, and that included changing a lot of skin tones, let me tell you. Basically about 50 or so skin tones. Because I basically just went right down the list when I was creating the player to begin with, and I was like, okay, well, AJ Halsey, for example, is not a white guy. So a lot had to change in the creation of this draft class. And as I said, there's only 60 players here, and there's actually a mock draft to come momentarily. But also, I did want to make sure I save it as the right file. NFL mock draft, description, don't need one. Yes, we will upload it. And that's it. So NFL mock draft. If I'm not the only one that comes up, I apologize. I don't imagine there's a lot of people that do this. In fact, you know what? Let's take a moment to check. Or you can use my PSN, which is, of course, if I can remember. Let's see. Let's see. If I've only had the same PSN for, I don't know, 15 years. Skillet. Amigo. 7. And there it is. Or you should be able to just search the name as well if you want to do it that way. NFL mock draft. And I'm the only one. Yeah. So I am the only person crazy enough to do this. We should go ahead and get into the mock, I suppose, so I can maybe possibly get this video uploaded to YouTube by the end of April Fool's Day. I did make a backup copy just in case. The actual most difficult thing was the file share. I'm being serious. I'm not trying to be like, oh, woe is me, oh, it's so hard to do. But this is awful. This crashed after every other team. And kudos to Phenomenon Uno, by the way, that uploaded all the NFL teams. But it did. It crashed after every other team. PlayStation Sport's going to get tired of hearing from me. But and of course the teams as they're constructed don't really matter. It's just for the mock draft, so it is kind of funny to see like all the players, like Maxey on the Niners, Giannis is a Bear, Josh Giddey on the Bengals, yada yada, so on and so forth. Colts have LaMelo Ball, and the Pacers have, or not the Pacers. Who are? Well, I don't know who the Pacers are. Which team's the Pacers? Are we past the Pacers? Yeah. There we go. The Detroit Lions are the Pacers. Pascal Siakam was balling out tonight, by the way. I was watching the Pacers game when I was taking a break from this. Sheesh. We need to stop doing that, actually. We need to lose more games. But within the league here, we can see our scouting department isn't doing a fantastic job. McNeil Warren's up to 3rd overall on the board. Max up to number 5. I want to say it's Iconor. I could still be wrong on that pronunciation. We got Stevie Banks at 33. A 30-year-old. No. Now, granted, there's a 24-year-old that I'm going to be drafting fairly high in Akeem Mesidor, but Fernando Mendoza's fallen to 31st, according to the Niners scouting. And I'm not sure if the rank, well, I guess they aren't. The rankings all look the same for every team, so. But I can assure you that is not the case. He's a 75 overall, exactly. I can tell you that right now. And I did try to, as far as their NBA positions in the game, I tried to match them up relatively with what their actual NBA position would be based on their height and weight. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect. And even in the scouting here, some of these heights and weights aren't accurate to how I put them in, because the scouting department's always a little bit off, unless you're at 100%, I think. So, but the mock is already made, so this will be like the first mock video I've ever done talking through the mock that I've already done in advance. So it shouldn't take 5 hours. So I think it's time, without further ado, to get into the mock. Here we go. And you know what? Just for my own benefit, maybe I'll add some my jazzy background music once I get on YouTube. But for my own benefit, I'm going to turn on some music. Feel free to listen to your own music. Of course, when you're watching my videos, a lot of them are pretty silent, other than me yapping, or I set music to it if I'm not yapping. So, all right. First up, the Las Vegas Raiders. And full disclosure, I about said Oakland Raiders. Now, this pick shouldn't surprise anybody. It's going to be the small forward out of IU, Fernando Mendoza. He's not a ball-hawking three-point sniper, but he is a very good quarterback prospect and deserving of the number one pick. So we'll go ahead and get that one out of the way, as that jersey is not looking super Raider-ish, other than the colors, I suppose. Unfortunate. Having just turned 37, I don't expect Kevin Durant to play many more years, which provides a perfect learning opportunity for Fernando. I can't even talk. Fernando Mendoza to develop comfortability at his own pace. I'm glad Kevin Durant will be showing Mendoza the way on the Las Vegas Raiders. Pick 2, the New York Jets. This has also seemingly been a very common pick as of late. In my last video, I had David Bailey going up this high at number 2. However, this time around, it is going to be, if I can remember what position I put him in, Arvell Reese out of the Ohio State University. And get used to hearing that, because there's going to be a lot of that in this mock draft. Jets go with Arvell Reese. Now, why is he number 35? I guarantee you I had it set to number 8. I don't know why he's 35. Is that number retired on whatever team this was? Maybe. Jets selection of Arvell Reese, any indication of what they might think of their chances of re-signing free agent Peyton Watson? No. All right, I don't know what I'm going to do about that happening, but I'll, I'll try to find a skip ahead 3 minutes button. Anyway, Cardinals up next. Options for the Cardinals. I don't think Jeremiah Love. Caleb Downs, I mean, maybe if they traded Budda Baker. They got a lot of needs, though, more than taking a safety. Francis Mauigoa. Again, am I getting the pronunciation right? Obviously, it's spelled Goa. The next best edge rusher between Ruben Bain, David Bailey, maybe Sonny Styles, maybe Mansour Delane. We're going to go with Francis Mawanoa. Plug in at right tackle. Maybe at guard instead, but we'll see. Spoken with the Cardinals scouts. They firmly believe his potential will lead him to be the best player in the draft. Sounds good. Tennessee Titans at 4. It's that man right there. It's going to be Jeremiah Love. As for other options, again, it's basically the same. Bain, Bailey, probably not Styles here, but could be fun. But we'll go Jeremiah Love for the time being. Number 1 in every mock draft. Well, I don't know about that. Jeremiah Love is the no doubt slam dunk. Get it? Because basketball. Can't miss prospect in this draft. Titans have to be feeling great tonight. I hope they are. New York Giants at 5. This is our second player from the Ohio State University. It's going to be Sonny Styles. There's several players up here at the top of the draft that traditional positional value doesn't really reflect where they're going to get taken in this draft. They're just that good. So, the last 3 picks, Mawanoa, a right tackle, maybe a right guard, Jeremiah Love, a running back, and now Sonny Styles, linebacker. You're looking at quarterback, you're looking at tackle, edge, yes, but these are just the best players in the draft, so why not? Why not take them high? I like that gigantic block white 0 on just the all blue jersey. It's funny. With Cooper Flagg scheduled to enter free agent. Okay, no. No. Maybe the team option, but no. Cleveland Browns at 6. This is going to be a new one for me, and a lot of this is because of the new reworked Myles Garrett verbiage of his contract, which could allow him to leave earlier, potentially in a trade. We're going to go with Ruben Bain. And again, not a position I would normally draft for them super high, but I do think it is a big need, especially if you trade Myles Garrett. Now, whether that happens before the draft, I don't think so. But if they once again are bad next year, it's probably time. So Ruben Bain to the Cleveland Browns. Best in class vertical of 44 inches for Ruben Bain. That's not bad. Commanders on the clock. Pick 7. I kind of struggled with this one a little bit too, because my first thought was David Bailey. And then I looked at all the receivers still on the board. Going to settle, or not really settle. He's the best cornerback in the class, in my opinion. But Mansour Delane, going in the top 10 here. I do think it's very close with him and Jermod McCoy for who actually is the number 1 most talented corner in this class. But McCoy, with his injury the past year, a lot of talent. He's still going to go high in real life and in my mock draft. But we're going to go Delane this time around for the Commanders. Pick 8 is the New Orleans Saints, and they are going to take one of the players I keep mentioning, and the man who I had going number 2 overall in my most recent mock. That is going to be David Bailey. Their current edge group is basically Chase Young and Carl Granderson. Get a little younger, get a little quicker. Hopefully you can actually get some pressure on the quarterback. Pick 9, the first of 2 Kansas City Chiefs draft picks. A lot of their targets gone. I did heavily consider Caleb Downs here. Even Jermod McCoy to an extent. But I ended up on a receiver, and he's been my number 1 receiver really since the season, even before the season ended. But it's going to be Carnell Tate. Rashee Rice, who knows? All your other receivers are speed, deep threat, gadget type, and that's not to discredit their skill sets or their ability, but, you need a guy like Carnell Tate in this offense because you really need a guy like Rashee Rice in the offense, and he hasn't been most of the time due to several circumstances, as well as injury, but, probably should be suspended. But anyway, that's a conversation for another time. Cincinnati Bengals at 10. Thought about McCoy still, and that's going to be a common theme until he goes off the board. Thought about edge, but the top 3 edge players are off the board, including Reese, Bain, and Bailey, of course. Defensive tackle, no, too early. Take the second best safety before the first best safety. Different types of safeties, Thieneman and Downs. But in the end, it's going to be O-line, as I didn't really realize how similar these two player models looked. It's going to be one of these two, though. And it is going to be the man whose position, I don't really know where he's going to play, but he's going to play somewhere, Spencer Fano. Probably not right tackle with Marius Mims. Probably not center with Ted Cross. Probably guard. You have Dylan Fairchild, who was a rookie last year, and Dalton Reisner are your starting guards. Not exactly, all-pro caliber guys. So inject Spencer Fano in there. Maybe you consider even left tackle Monroe Freeling at this point. I feel like he could go as high as 6. But he does fall, spoiler, in this mock a little bit. But the Bengals going to take Fano, play him probably at guard. Maybe even Amarius Mims moves over to left tackle eventually, and Fano could play right. Who knows? But you're getting probably the second best offensive lineman in the conversation at a position group you really need to upgrade to try to continue to protect Joe Burrow the best you can. That's kind of like the whole problem with the Bengals the past couple of years. That's been more than a couple at this point. So anyway, pick 11, the Miami Dolphins. The man's right there. It's Caleb Downs. Downs sliding to 11. Probably the latest I've had him going. Just didn't really love the fits, or not necessarily the fits, but the value, I guess. And in this particular draft class, I do have him rated as the second highest player behind just Jeremiah Love. So it's not like I've got anything against Caleb Downs out of the Ohio State University. And Miami does have a ton of needs, so safety isn't necessarily, the number one option. But they have so many draft picks in this draft. They got pick 30 for Jalen Watson, of course. Looking at the second round, they have pick 43. Third round, they have 75, 87, 90, and 94. So they can maybe even trade up from pick 11. They could trade down for more picks. But when you're sitting there at 11 and Caleb Downs is there before the Dallas Cowboys, I think you just take Caleb Downs. And then comes Dallas. Now, this was probably my first reach, even to my own standards, my own rankings. But I wanted to get them another defensive tackle in the mix. And a lot of these guys have question marks. Now, of course, all prospects have question marks. Nobody's a perfect prospect, I don't think. But, Caleb Banks with injury, Christian Miller, probably more of a fringe first. Peter Woods, probably more of a fringe first. Lee Hunter. I've been higher on Lee Hunter, but even then, I wouldn't take him this high. So the guy, I'm like, you know what? This is the guy that would fit. And I know they have Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark, both acquired in a trade in the last year. But I was looking at their roster. They don't have too many glaring needs, and they do have 2 first-round picks. They don't have a second, but they did acquire a third. That's pick 92 down the board. So I'm going to draft kind of just for need, but also I do think Cade McDonald is so good of a run stopper. His skill set does kind of justify him going this high. So Cade McDonald out of the Ohio State University goes at pick 12, which I'm positive is the highest I've had him going. And Rob Mahoney says it's an obvious steal. He had come in off the board 10 picks ago. You had him going to the Jets at 2? All right, man. I don't know about all that, but 12 seems high enough. Next up, Los Angeles Rams. I think this is probably another common one. Maybe it depends on which receiver you like between Tyson, or the other receivers, point guards, Mekhi Lemon, and Omar Cooper. That really just does not look like Mekhi Lynn at all. I did a bad job on that one. But we're going to take Jordan Tyson for the Rams. There's been some talk confirmed and talked about by Sean McVay that they did try to, or at least potentially talked about trading Devontae Adams. Now, maybe that would have been them trying to get A.J. Brown in the process, but if you're already talking about potentially moving on from Adams, who is getting up there, he's maybe 34, I want to say. Puka's got a huge contract coming, and I think he will get that regardless of the shenanigans with Puka. But yeah, another receiver in the offense. They've got some decent depth guys, but they don't really have a solidified 3, which, picking at 13, you're typically not drafting your wide receiver 3. But I think the Rams are a team that kind of has the luxury to do whatever they want. And I think Jordan Tyson fits the bill of like, okay, who's the best player we can inject into the offense for Matt Stafford's final year or 2 at most, probably. Unless he's like Tom Brady, he plays still 40. He's 45, I guess. But I like the addition of Tyson the most. So there you go. That's pick 13. 14, Baltimore Ravens. This one's probably everybody's pick at this point, but Vega Ione, big guard out of Penn State. Just kind of another one of these picks that makes the most sense. They struggle at guard position. I think Falele, who's still a free agent, made the Pro Bowl somehow. I think people just like him because he's big. I don't know. But, he is a free agent. Andrew Voorhees, not necessarily a starter in the league. I liked him as a prospect in his draft class, but not the greatest. And they also need a center, but we're not drafting Ione to play center. We'll have to get that some other time. I, for one, am sold. Sorry. Am sold not only on Ione's upside, but also on what he can bring to the table in his rookie season. Lang, I agree with you wholeheartedly. He should start as a rookie, obviously. Tampa Bay at 15. This was another hard one. I remember watching a game this season, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to mock Kenyon Sadiq to them every single mock draft for the rest of the year until the draft. And a lot of mocks, I've still done that despite them re-signing Cade Otton. And they could very well take Kenyon Sadiq here if he's available at 15. But that's not the direction I'm going. I'm going to take Dermod McCoy. And you might say, Skillet, they've got 2 very young corners. Zion McCollum isn't exactly a young corner. I think he has 3 years left on his deal, maybe even. But they did just draft Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish. You say, why are you taking Dermod McCoy? He's just that good. He really is just that good. Now, if Vega Ione had made it one more pick, I'd probably take Vega Ione to plug in at left guard with respect to, it's not Ben Barch, who's the Buccaneers' left guard. Oh, no, I have to look it up. Oh, no. I really don't like drafting to replace like one specific player also, as we are going to take McCoy. Especially when they're like an established starter and they've got maybe several years on their deal, and it doesn't really make sense to cut him. And now I can't even remember the guy's name, so I feel even worse. What is Burrow's name? The Buccaneers starting left guard. As my laptop is slow because all these streams I got up. Note to self, don't have 9 HoloLive streams open while you stream. Ben Bredesen. I was close. I said Ben Barch. Ben Bredesen. Anyway, that's not the case of what happened anyway. So Dermod McCoy is the pick. And it gives them more depth, of course. Maybe Zion McCollum and Ben Morrison can rotate in with McCoy. And McCoy is a rookie as well. We don't know how much he's actually going to play because we don't know actually how healthy he is. I think he did have his his pro day that he participated in. And he actually participated in it. So that, that's encouraging. But will he be on a snap count? Will he actually be ready for the season? If he's not, do they hold him? Those are, I think, valid questions for him. And several other players that kind of fall down the board in this particular mock. New York Jets back on the clock for their second pick. They took Arvell Reese at 2. Next up, they're going to get a weapon for, I guess, Geno Smith for now. Ty Simpson could be in consideration, I suppose, as early as this pick. But not going to go that direction. We are going to go with wide receiver Mekhi Lemon. Pair him up with Garrett Wilson. I kind of like the fit. I don't know why he's number 18. I guess it's not like Madden where it automatically shows. The one thing Madden has on 2K is rookie draft numbers. So he should be number 6, but he's number 18. Whatever. What was I saying? I don't know what I was saying. To pair him up with Garrett Wilson, I think is a nice duo. He was a joy to watch. His savvy situational awareness and endless motor. His upside remains in question. Oof. Well, there you go. That's kind of accurate, I guess. Next up, the Detroit Lions. This is another kind of like need and best player available combined with need is what I'm trying to say. Monroe Freeling, as Taylor Decker remains unsigned after being cut, unlikely to go back to Detroit. We're going to take Monroe Freeling. There's been some talk of Penei Sewell possibly moving over to left tackle. That's what Tristan Wirfs did for the Buccaneers a couple years ago. He definitely could do it. And if you're drafting a rookie to protect Jared Goff as he gets older into his 30s, kind of risky. But I'd rather do this than draft, one of the better remaining right tackles and then have to move Penei Sewell over to left when I think this much of Freeling as a prospect anyway. Just take the guy who is a good left tackle prospect. Maybe he's raw. Maybe he needs to develop. But what rookie doesn't need to develop a little bit? You know what I'm saying? Plug him in. Dan Campbell, Penei Sewell, Jared Goff. They'll get him right. Love the pick. There you go. A decade minimum. Wow. For a left tackle, that's high hopes. And again, another one that's like, yes, makes sense. Dylan Thieneman to the Vikings. Harrison Smith's retiring. I did consider corner, but the Vikings actually have a decent corner group now. You may not realize it because I feel like, at least on paper, the Vikings corner room has not. It just hasn't felt great. Like they haven't had a true number 1 guy in a long time. I feel maybe even since like Antoine Winfield, which seems crazy, but also rip Kyrie Jackson. That reminded me. But yeah, you got to replace Harrison Smith now. Thieneman's still on the board. He could go as high really as probably 12 to Dallas. Dallas maybe sad he's gone here at 18. Maybe he was planning on taking him at 20. Questions are surrounding Trey Young's free agent. So this was Washington. I really like Dylan Thieneman and his long-term outlook as an NBA prospect. Well, I don't know about that, Rob, but I do like him as an NFL prospect. Carolina Panthers at 19. Another one where I wasn't really sure what position to go. I did think about a tackle, but again, it would be somebody that's just not going to play that much as a rookie, short of injury. Rookie, tackle or guard, kind of felt the same way. Pregnon, Proctor. They also did sign Rasheed Walker, so their left tackle position's kind of fine right now, even with Ike Ekwonu missing probably the season. So thought about edge and was like, well, they did sign Jalen Phillips to a huge contract. Even thought about linebacker here, Rodriguez. In the end, settled on giving them a corner. Gonna go Avion Terrell. And yes, I know they have J.C. Horn. They have Mike Jackson. I feel like he complements those guys. And I feel like if Avion Terrell's your third corner, or if Mike Jackson slides into your third corner, you got a nice little group there. Thought about a receiver as well, but they've kind of done a good job of rounding out that group. And I guess maybe a defensive tackle. But yeah. Third corner, I felt like it was a good need. Good fit. Cowboys back up at 20. Reminder, they took Cade McDonald at 12, which is a bit high, but He right now is my D tackle 1. It's close. There's, the top 4 are all very close. But he probably would have been gone before 20, which is why I went ahead and took him. Now, when Kenyon Sadiq fell to 20, or anyways, available at this point, maybe not fell, but, and he's obviously not the 48th ranked player in the class, I said to myself, Dallas has a decent tight end group. They are kind of missing a wide receiver 3. And George Pickens is probably will be playing on the franchise tag. So why not get another weapon? And again, this is a luxury pick for a team that hasn't really done anything in the playoffs for a long time. So you could say, oh, they need an edge. Oh, they need a right tackle upgrade over Terrence Steele. And I wouldn't hate those options. Terrence Steele is on a very large contract, I will say, though. And Jake Ferguson, he's not making the most money at tight end, but he is 27 already. Luke Schoonmaker's already 28. I'm surprised at that. So to get another young tight end in the room, I think makes a lot of sense here. Take Kenyon Sadiq at 20 for the Dallas Cowboys. Without a doubt, a first-round talent. Cowboys fans will grow to love once they see what he can do. Good evaluation. I like when they evaluate the players without mentioning NBA. It fits the narrative better. Pittsburgh Steelers. Was there any other secondary needs I thought about heavily? I guess maybe linebacker. I like Jacob Rodriguez a fair bit. This is why I keep mentioning linebacker. Not as much CJ Allen. I like him as a prospect. I don't know if he's a true first-round guy. I don't know if Jacob Rodriguez really is a true first-round guy either. But to me, he is. So. But anyway, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I know they got Michael Pittman from the Colts. Obviously, I'm a Colts fan. And if, you got DK Metcalf. They did lose some of their depth, like Calvin Austin. I think they could use another receiver. And looking at the board, my wide receiver, maybe 4. He might be even higher than that. If I can find him. Here he is, Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Wow, he made more 15-foot jumpers than any other player at the Combine. Awesome. Didn't know they did that at the NFL Combine. Pick 22, Los Angeles Chargers. My immediate thought was defensive tackle, but they've actually got a decent group. My next immediate thought was, oh my gosh, the offensive line. Please don't let Justin Herbert be killed like the Bengals have let Joe Burrow be killed. Like the Colts let Andrew Luck be killed. Please don't do it. So I thought about. I did think long and hard about Emmanuel Pregnon because he's a true guard. But I like the idea of Caden Proctor coming in and playing guard at his size. And if and when, heaven forbid, it happens every year, but heaven forbid so. If and when Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt get hurt, you've got to have somebody hopefully better than Trey Pipkins to come in and play tackle. Caden Proctor at least gives you an option. And I think he can be a very good guard. So that was the thought process there. He isn't the fastest player, or the strongest, or the best shooter. Well, let's hope he doesn't have to shoot. Let's hope not. Okay, moving on. 23, Philadelphia Eagles. Again, this one felt obvious to me after making it this far. Akeem Mesidor to the Eagles. He reminds me of Brandon Graham. I don't know if it's a great comparison or not. It feels all right. I kind of like it. And especially talking about the Eagles, I'm just going to lean into it. He's exactly Brandon Graham. Exactly, yes. No, not exactly, but now he is the older of the prospects in this first round range. Obviously, everybody knows he's going to be 25 as a rookie. Don't draft him. Yeah, let him fall to whatever pick the Colts have at 47. Oh, he's so old. You guys shouldn't draft him until 47. He's a very good pass rusher. That was evident really all season, him and Ruben Bain together. Eagles do need pass rush pretty badly after letting Jalen Phillips walk. Now, I don't mind that they didn't pay him that contract because that was a lot. And to get Mesidor on a rookie contract, yes, he's going to be 25. Yes, he's going to be like 29 at the end of that deal, or 30 even if you pick up the option. That's fine. If you get 5 great years out of Mesidor, I'd rather do that than I'm trying to develop. And again, not to put these guys down at all because they're prospects. They're all going to have different journeys in the NFL, so to speak. But if you draft a guy like TJ Parker, for instance, and he's just okay, and he shows some development, but you don't end up re-signing him, or maybe he gets a big enough offer from somewhere else to go. It's like, was that worth it? If Akeem Mesidor goes to the Bills or the Niners or the Chiefs, Dolphins, Patriots, Seahawks, and is a dominant sack artist, constant pressure on the quarterback, I don't think so. I think you just take Mesidor. I think he's the best remaining pass rusher prospect at this point in the mock. And he's actually only the, I guess, 4th edge off the board at this point. So don't mind it. Cleveland Browns, they took one of those edge prospects at pick 6 with Ruben Maine. This pick was also tough for me because I want to give them a receiver. I kind of wanted to find an offensive lineman as well, preferably a left tackle. I'm not the biggest Caleb Lomu guy. I think he's more of a guard. He's also not 6'4", he's 6'6". Oh, you can see his actual height and weight at the top. Our scouting department says he's 6'4", 309, but he's actually 6'6". Okay. So I thought about him. I thought about the possibility of drafting one of these right tackles and possibly playing them at guard, but the Browns did a decent job of replacing all their free agents except at left tackle. And I will say I am the biggest DeJuan Jones fan. I absolutely love DeJuan Jones. I don't know if I can count on him to be my left tackle of the future. So that is something to consider. The Browns do pick again at 39. Maybe you take Caleb Lomu there. I'd feel more comfortable. But in the end, I settled on the next best corner, in my opinion. And some mocks, I think that has been Colton Hood. But this time around, we're going with Brandon Cisse out of South Carolina. I like that logo. The Browns really got to find a logo, dude. I don't know if it's going to be a dog or what, but they need a logo. It's just so boring. Hey, what's your logo? Oh, a bear. Oh, what's your logo? Oh, a buffalo. Oh, what's your logo? An orange helmet. Oh, cool. Speaking of Bears, Chicago Bears, another one where the need and the talent kind of fits. I don't necessarily think Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, he's not on par certainly with Downs, and he's not quite up to Dylan Thieneman as a prospect. But I do like him. I think he's a fringe first-round talent. The Bears have such a need at safety as well. Their top 3 safeties all entered free agency. And they've yet to replace 2 of those. So Emmanuel McNeil-Warren to the Bears out of Toledo. Maybe the Indiana Bears one day. Who knows? We'll see if that ever comes to fruition. But I kind of hope not. I'm not going to lie. And here are the Bills at 26. Another player I've mentioned a lot during this mock. It's Jacob Rodriguez. Now, the Bills' linebacking core, there kind of just isn't a core. Dorian Williams comes to mind. Matt Milano's a free agent. Terrell Bernard is there, more undersized. Now, Rodriguez isn't necessarily he's not 6'3", 250. He is 6'1", 230. He led the nation in turnovers forced, Heisman finalist as a linebacker. He's just kind of an awesome football player. And I kind of don't doubt that he's going to be at least a Pro Bowl caliber player in the NFL. I don't have any problem taking him here in the first round. I was considering him as high up as 15 to Tampa. I think they need linebacker pretty bad right now. They did sign Alex Anzalone. Now that's obviously a veteran. You're not counting on him being there for 5 years, but Saricha Dennis is there. They haven't really replaced even Devin White, let alone now having to replace Lavonte David. So, but we're not really talking about the Buccaneers. We're talking about the Bills. The Bills have their own problems at linebacker. I think Jacob Rodriguez instantly gives them a playmaking defender. And again, this isn't a great comp, but I do want to mention it just because of the turnovers. Darius Leonard, my favorite linebacker of the past 10 years or more, one of my favorite Colts players. Wasn't as big of a fan of Shaq Leonard, I have to admit. It just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. And a lot of that was injuries, things out of his control, obviously. But that was a sad day when he was released. But back to the mock. Ooh, Zach says it was a second round talent. Oh, he couldn't disagree more. See, he's a first round talent. See? And then he's like, he's a third round talent. Like, what? This is NBA. How are you thinking he's a third rounder? Okay, anyway. 49ers up at 27. This was one where I thought I knew where I was going because I was convinced I was going to take Caleb Lumu. There's conversations about Trent Williams maybe being moved off of his contract. He's already 38. But again, if he is there at the moment, if he remains there, if they don't move him, if he's not cut or traded, or retires even, what's Caleb Lomu going to do? Maybe start at guard as a rookie? He's not going to start at right tackle. Maybe he starts at a guard spot. I don't really love spending your first rounder here as the 49ers on a guy that you don't know is going to start. Now, obviously, these guys got to earn their way, but there's not like a clear path to him. Not a clear path, get it? Like basketball? There's not a clear enough path, at least, for him to come to that team and start right away. So I was looking around at their needs, what I think are their needs, and I settled on edge. And these four top guys right here, along with, I guess, Lawrence as well. Not Eli Stowers, not to play edge. But thought about a lot of these guys for a while. I think TJ Parker is probably in my own personal ranking a little higher, just because I think he has, again, all these guys have potential, but he was my number one player preseason. If you go back to last year, my first preseason mock, I actually had the two Clemson defensive players going 1-2, Parker and Peter Woods. Now, that didn't really pan out. I still think they're fringe first-round talents, both of them. But in the end, I actually ended up going with Cassius Howell. I think he is more dissimilar to what they already have. Of course, in Nick Bosa, who's a superstar when he's healthy. And last year's first-round pick, Mykel Williams. So it's like, yeah, you're spending another first-round pick on the same position as last year. I thought about receiver, maybe Denzel Boston in this offense, or KC Concepcion. But in the end, we ended up going with Howell. And I think 49ers would be happy with that. It's probably not any indication of what they think of Kelly Oubre. It's probably more of an indication of, oh man, who's the player that just retired? Bryce Huff. He retired because he's starting up a company to work on safely trashing batteries, something with batteries. I don't know. Interesting decision. But hey, NFL is a tough game. Guy plays in the NFL for 5 years and body's starting to wear it down. You're like, well, I made the money. Let's go do something I care about. So can't begrudge him of doing what he wants to do. Houston Texans on the clock. Again, I knew the position I wanted, but I wasn't sure of the player. So it was defensive tackle. The only other thing I thought of again was maybe left tackle, which again would maybe be Caleb Lomu, but they do have Ursary from last year's class. if you go with Lomu again, maybe he starts at left guard, but maybe not. They also just signed was it Wyatt Teller, I believe. So their offensive line's revamped enough. I was thinking defensive tackle. The only other thing probably at this point would be maybe a third edge rusher, but I think they have other needs, especially defensive tackle. So then that brings up my rankings again of, is it Peter Woods next? Is it Caleb Banks? Caleb Banks, without the injury concern, maybe my pick right here, and maybe wouldn't just be a fringe first round prospect for me. Peter Woods, still just only 20. Lee Hunter, a little older, maybe not as complete of a player. But in the end, I keep saying in the end, we're going to go Christian Miller. Christian Miller, shout out TFG, who's been saying he wants him in the 50s to the Packers. I don't think he's making it to the 50s. He may also be a fringe first round guy, or more of a second. But I think there's a pretty solid chance he goes into the first round. Maybe even higher. I mean, I had Cade McDonald going 12. I think Christian Miller is the best long-range shooter in the draft. I love this pickup for the Texans. That's funny. Chiefs on the clock, their second pick. They went Carnell Tate with their first. Again, I was thinking edge. I was thinking right tackle was a strong consideration with Miller and Eikenor still on the board. I like Jennings Dunker, by the way. I don't think he's a first-round prospect, but I wanted to include him. Pregnon, don't really need the guard right here. Unless he thought Sua Mataya could play right tackle, but I think they kind of already experimented with him at tackle, and it didn't go great. One of these teams might end up considering Connor Liu at the tail end of the first round. I don't think he's going to go that high. And as I mentioned, I was thinking about edge pretty strongly. But then I think about corner and the disaster of, obviously they chose to trade Trent McDuffie for a first for this pick right here. Do I make it audible for my own mock? I kind of want to make an audible for my own mock. I'm not going to. I'm not going to. A player that, to me, one of the bigger risers. I thought he had a good combine. From what I've seen, I think he's at minimum the fifth best corner in this class. A lot of times I end up having Colton Hood slide in here toward the end of the first round. In full disclosure, I mock him to the Seahawks like every other mock, probably, at 32. I even mocked D'Angelo Pons at this pick one time, and it's like, I love him as a player. I don't think he's going first round. Keith Abney, kind of the same deal. I'm actually going to go Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson is a kind of a sneaky, doesn't seem to get talked about a lot. All right, another random pause in the video. My bad. I just could I download? Actually, did download something so I could edit my Knicks My League, and then I was editing, and I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to be a YouTube editor, I don't think. So, could I cut this video down a little bit and cut out the pauses? Yes, I probably should. Am I going to? April Fools. I'm not. So, Chris Johnson's the pick. Probably more of a second round player, but just the way the mock was panning out, I wanted to get a corner for the Chiefs, and I kind of like Chris Johnson more than Colton Hood, to be honest, right now. That just kind of ended up being the pick. Is Trent McDuffie worth trading to get Chris Johnson? Probably not. So who is left on the board? We got Eikenor, Blake Miller, Banks, Woods, Keldrick Falk, if I could read, Zion Young, TJ Parker, Gabe Jacas, R. Mason Thomas, Malachi Lawrence, Jake Golday, Derek Moore, Eli Stowers, CJ Allen, Ty Simpson, Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion, Jadarian Price, D'Angelo Pons, Jeremy Bernard, Colton Hood, Kamari Ramsey, AJ Halsey, and Keith Abney. So we are at pick 30. I don't think Ty Simpson's in play. I would like to think they'd try to build around Malik Willis without immediately trying to look toward the future. Now, I will say I didn't expect the Falcons to draft Michael Penix, and that happened. So anything could happen. But I would be, even though the Dolphins have a lot of draft picks, I don't think they would do this. I really don't think. So in the end, they went Caleb Downs in their first pick. I thought about corner, doubling up on the secondary. Probably would have been Colton Hood, my guy, apparently at this point. There he is. But I thought about offensive line. Again, the tackles still be on the board. Thought pretty hard about them. But decided to go with a weapon. And again, this is back-to-back picks where the team traded a player to get the pick and now replacing them with the pick. So last pick, Chris Johnson to the Chiefs. This one's going to be Denzel Boston to the Miami Dolphins. You need somebody to catch passes in the future. I don't know if they have any single receiver on the entire roster that'll be there in a year, which is kind of sad to say. But Boston, here's another random comp. Not Denzel Perriman. Not Denzel Parker. Devin Parker? Devontae Parker? Man, brain fart. Devontae Parker, Dolphins receiver legend. Perfect comp. Not really. New England Patriots at 31. Let's get this over with, man. Come on. Move it along, man. April Fools is almost over with. Patriots up at 31. I thought about tackle again. My guy Caleb Lomu still sitting there. Decided to go to the edge. And again, kind of a different idea here, where I would normally go with TJ Parker. It seems Zion Young has momentum to climb over TJ Parker's spot. I'm actually going to go even farther down and take Malachi Lawrence out of UCF. Patriots, I think, need help on the edge going forward. Harold Landry had a nice year after being cut from the Titans. Draymond Jones isn't really an edge, but he's kind of an edge. Get an edge. Get somebody on the edge. They lost, they traded Josh Uche. What's it been, like a year and a half now? Season and a half ago? Need some edge depth. Finally, the last pick of this mock, the Super Bowl winning champions, Seattle Seahawks. Thought about maybe taking one of these tackles to play them at guard. Even thought about Connor Lew. Thought about edge. Didn't think about Ty Simpson. Thought about secondary needs. Thought about D'Angelo Pons. It's Jadarian Price. They lose Kenneth Walker. They let him walk. No franchise. They let him walk. Get it? April Fools. They let him walk in free agency. No franchise tag. Zach Charbonnet. I'm having lots of brain farts this video. My bad. Zach Charbonnet injured in the playoffs. Probably going to miss a hefty part to open this next season. Jadarian Price, he's not quite Jeremiah Love, but he is, in my opinion, the number 2 back in this class. Get him at 32, get the 5th-year option. I think it's a valid choice. Let all the point guards, so to speak, in the bench press. All right. So, Mark Tatum, your day is going to be short, buddy, as we are going to select April Fools out of Oklahoma State. There you go. That's the mock. We're going to sim to end. Mendoza, Arvo Reese, Francis Mawinoa, apparently, Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles, Ruben Bain, Mansour Delane, David Bailey, Carnell Tate, Spencer Fano, Caleb Downs, Caden McDonald, Jordan Tyson, Vega Ion, Olia Vavega, Ion, to be exact, Gerard McCoy, Mekhi Lemon, Monroe Freeling, Dylan Thieneman, Avian Terrell, Kenyon Sadiq, Omar Cooper, Caden Proctor, Akeem Mesidor, Brandon Cisse, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, Jacob Rodriguez, Cassius Howell, Christian Miller, Chris Johnson, Denzel Boston, Malachi Lawrence, and Jadarian Price. Round out your first round NFL mock draft using NBA 2K. And follow up in what happened in the second round, the real players. KC Concepcion. Now, these second round picks aren't actually who has them. So, Concepcion to the Cardinals, CJ Allen to the Ravens, Ty Simpson to the Giants. Like I said, these picks are not correct. So, Peter Woods and Max Eichner to the Colts. I kind of like that. Caleb Banks to the Rams. Yeah, they really need him, don't they? Zion Young to the Bengals would be nice for them. Blake Miller to the Jags. I don't know about that one. Again, it's not my pick. So, TJ Parker to the Titans. I would like, especially if they take Jeremiah Love at 4. If they take Edge at 4, obviously not. But if he makes it there to their pick, they actually pick at 35. So if TJ Parker's there at 35 for them, I wouldn't mind that. Also, I will say, too, if you notice, there were 2 teams I had to adjust the spellings of the names. You probably never would have noticed if I don't point it out. The Titans. You cannot spell Titans without the bad word police interfering. So you probably didn't even notice it was spelled T-T-T-A-N-S. And then similarly, Falcons. The word con, I guess, is bad. Be like I guess it was William Shatner in the original. Con! Anyway, Falcons, Falccs. I don't know how some of these generic players that are I made sure none of them were above a 68, so there was at least a 2 overall difference, and they're all 30 years old. I don't know why teams are taking them above the actual prospects, but that's their choice. So, Mr. Irrelevant of the actual players that got drafted ends up being Jeremy Bernard. And he also went to the Steelers, who took Omar Cooper. So, anyway, that's all for the video. Sorry I left multiple times. I'm going to go ahead and cut it so it's not any longer than this. Just over an hour. I'm going to get it on YouTube as soon as possible. It's not going to be up in time for April Fool's Day, at least my time. Maybe, I mean, do I really want to publish it at midnight East Coast time? I don't know. Or sorry, West Coast? Probably not. But I am going to end it here. If you end up watching the VOD on Twitch or the YouTube video, thanks for watching. Thanks for checking it out. This was a strange idea. I realize that. And a lot of time and effort went into it for minimal reasons. But it was kind of fun to do the actual video here. The process of making the class and getting the My League up and running was a bit tedious, more so than it probably should have been. But it was fun. It was a fun experience, all in all. So that is my next to final I'm saying NBA NFL mock draft for the year. I plan on doing one more. I still maybe might get two in there, but we're coming up on 2 weeks away, or what, 3 weeks away, I guess, from the draft. So we're getting close. I don't know if I can fit two more in there, but we'll see. Peter Woods and Ike Orr for the Colts. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. So anyway, let me know how weird I am in the comments. And thanks for watching. All right. Take it easy. Godspeed. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. And so long.